Once you have finished the very last block of your sampler scarf here, the question naturally becomes, how do I finish the project so that I get to wear the piece that I've worked so hard on? So I am going to be showing you how to fasten off the end of a crochet project and then how to weave your ends in. So when you get to the end of the piece and you're ready to be finished with it, the first thing that I would recommend doing is go ahead and use your crochet hook to make that loop bigger. Just tug on it a little bit to make that last loop bigger. Now I do this when I am finished working on any part. If I'm just going to set my project down for a few minutes or for the evening, I go ahead and pull that loop a little bit bigger just so that if I accidentally tug and pull on this end, I'm not unraveling my hard work. But it makes the next step a little bit easier if you go ahead and pull that loop a little bit bigger before you finish off. Then you're going to want to just go ahead and snip your yarn. Scissors or the little yarn snips that will come in the beginning crochet kit from us are going to work just fine for that. And you do want to leave about a 6-inch tail of yarn here. You don't want to make it a tiny short little tail because that will make weaving it in just a little bit more challenging. So you've made that bigger loop, you've snipped your yarn, you're now going to pass the tail of the yarn that you just cut through that loop, and right to left to right, doesn't matter. Just put it through there. Once it's passed through, go ahead and pull on that tail, and that tightens it down. And you have secured the edge of your crochet, so nothing is going to unravel now. That's fastening it off right there. And the next thing that you want to do is weave in your ends. I prefer to do this with a tapestry needle. That is just a needle that doesn't have a particularly pointy end and has an eye big enough to put your yarn through. But you could certainly do the same thing with a crochet hook if you don't have a tapestry needle handy. So you are going to thread your yarn through that tapestry needle. And I generally would use a tapestry needle with a slightly bigger eye for this worsted weight yarn, but you can get it through there. And you are going to, I generally like to take my tail and weave it about 1.5 inches in one direction and then come back about half that distance in the other direction. It's not an exact science. I like to go through the middle of the stitches instead of kind of all the way through to the other side and back again. I just think that hides it more and makes it look a little bit nicer. So I kind of go through the middle of the stitch. You can see you don't see the needle from the other side. So I've gone kind of halfway in the middle of the stitch. And I'm just going to run my tapestry needle along. And again, a little bit more of an art than an exact science. Kind of the length of the needle itself, or about 1.5 inches. And then just pull that tail through. Pull that through. And you do want to tug on that so that you don't have your fabric is not puckered up like this. You want to tug so that it all lays nice and flat and has a little bit of give to it. And then I like to turn around and come back the other direction. Do make sure you don't put your tapestry needle in exactly where you came out of, or you will unlace the weaving in that you just did. So make sure your tapestry needle is going in a little bit of a different spot. So I prefer to go through kind of the next row down, and again, like halfway through the stitch so your needle's not poking out the other side. So you can see that the tapestry needle doesn't come all the way through the other side. And you're just going to pull that. And again, I go about halfway back again. Pull that across. I pulled my tapestry needle off the end there. Give it another tug and pull to make sure that nothing is cinched up. And then you can go ahead and trim that flush with your work. And you have woven in the end. And obviously you will have an end at the other side of your piece as well. Where you began, you're going to do that exact same thing on the other side. And that is how you fasten off and weave in the ends on your first project.